go in there and make things worse than they are. You know, first do no harm. But once you've done a little homework and know how to do things yourself, just damn go do it. Okay? We've got dozens of programs here at the University of Michigan to connect you and U of M students to after-school programs, during-school programs, youth mentoring programs, ACT test prep programs, after-school sports programs, whatever, music programs, art programs, theater programs, whatever you're interested in. There are kids in Detroit and kids, it doesn't have to be Detroit, kids in Ypsilanti, kids in Willow Run, kids in Ann Arbor who would benefit from you being with them. So it's wonderful to think about strategies and so forth. It's also wonderful for you to have some first-hand experience if you haven't had that opportunity. You will gain from it. This is not like some selfless thing, right? I mean, I bet you learned a lot and gained a lot and found that experience at Logan Elementary to be very beneficial to you. And it looks good on your resume. So, this is not a call to charity. This is a call to doing things that are worthwhile and that you will learn a lot from. As for the strategy, here's what I push on the belly. You need to have hard evidence that something works, that something has is in cost-benefit terms. Look, for every buck you put into this, you're going to get $3 out. And you have to demonstrate. It can't just be like made up. It has to be demonstrated on the basis of research that's been done about increases in attendance rates of students, or reducing dropout rates, or improvement in test scores, or reducing likelihood that they'll be arrested or involved in crime or whatever. But provide some long-term, convincing, evaluative data that says to legislators, look, you cannot not fund this. This is an investment. This is not charity. This is not sort of do something for the poor folk or something else. This is a sound business proposition investment in the future of the state of Michigan. And I can document it, I can back it up, and I can come before your committee and I can speak to it. I can bring kids who've been through the program and they'll speak to it. And you'd be nuts not to invest in this. That's how you do it. I'm sorry, I've got to add one more thing. I'm sorry, it's about the them. That's a necessary but not sufficient step. It's a necessary step. It is not sufficient. In the real world of politics, too many people assume that if I simply had a convincing case and put that on the table, that policymakers, legislators, governors, presidents, and so forth would go, well, I guess you're right. We should go do that now. If only that were true. It's not true. People have constituents, elected officials have constituencies and their own agendas. Here in the state of Michigan, we can't go all the way till the end of this hour and not say it right up front here. Among the other dubious statistics of southeastern Michigan is that it is the most residentially, racially segregated metropolitan area in the entire United States. Not Mississippi or Alabama or somewhere else or so forth. Metropolitan Detroit. The most segregated metropolitan area in the United States. And part of who are the theys and so forth are theys in other parts of the state. I wish it weren't so, but we're here to speak the truth tonight. The truth of the matter is there are some legislators in the state who haven't heard the Mike Royko message. That Detroit has to work before the state of Michigan can work. They are focused on their constituency and their locality. And as far as they're concerned, any dollar that goes to the city of Detroit is a dollar wasted. And they're just not interested. I wish it weren't here. What is the last major metropolitan area in the entire United States without a comprehensive rapid regional transit system? Some rail system in the region, metropolitan area. What's the last one that doesn't have regional rapid transit system. Detroit, Metro Detroit. The last. They said, you'll never build a regional rapid transit system in Phoenix. You'll never build one in Houston. You'll never build one in Miami. You'll never build one in LA. It'll never happen. It's happened everywhere. Of the 20 largest metropolitan areas in the United States, population-wise, 20 largest metropolitan areas in the United States, there is one without a metro regional transit system, and we are it. And we includes this place where we're sitting right now. Ann Arbor is part of it. You can't get to Detroit from here, or from Detroit to here. You want to go to U of M Hospital or take classes here at the University of Michigan or see a football game or something and you live in Detroit and you don't have a car and so forth, you're out of luck. Same thing for those of us who want to go into Detroit, either to have fun or to visit a museum or to work with kids after school or something like that. Too bad. And there is a reason why we are the last metropolitan area without a regional transit system, and it is not the auto industry. The auto industry actively supports regional transit because they recognize somebody's got to build that stuff. And they have a lot of workers who need to get to places and so forth. The reason is race. People in too many people, not everybody by any means, but too many people in the overwhelmingly white suburban metro Detroit. Remember, we are the most racially segregated metropolitan area in America. Too many people in the overwhelmingly white suburban area are like it that folks from the city of Detroit cannot get out to the suburbs, where most of the jobs are. Like it that way, want it that way. Want it that way. And as long as we have that kind of divide, there's no short-term strategy that's going to put us ahead. Okay? Until we can get over that racial divide, until we can all at least be on the same team, not fighting at each other's throats. If we can't get on the same team together, all the proposals in the world aren't going to help.
I have a question. When you're saying that people they don't want to be segregated or whatever, I don't know if you necessarily would say that people are trying to avoid that. Isn't it more that, unfortunately there has become this divide in education, and if you're saying you want to...
It's not just education.
Okay, but this is just an example of that. And if you then combined these two groups, they'd be at such different levels that I think that it would be hard to... Then where would you go from there? You know what I mean? So once you do combine,
it's not just education. It's anything. It's jobs. It's shopping.
But even for jobs, people wouldn't be as educated or on the same level. So then where would you go from there?
The suburbs need janitors, housekeepers, landscapers, as well as people in information technology and health sciences and manufacturing industry and a lot of others and so forth. You're not hearing. They don't want people from Detroit coming to where they live.
But do you think the people from Detroit have tried?
Have tried.
Do you think that they've gone? Well, do you think they've gone out there to apply for these jobs and try?
They don't have the ability.
There's no way to get there.
They don't have the ability.
There's no way to get there, and there's no connections. You need networks. I hope that you all have learned those of you wanting a job when you get out of here and so forth. I hope you have learned that the way to get a job is not by going on monster.com and submitting, resumes all over the earth and then kind of blanketing everybody with a resume and sitting home and waiting for the mail to arrive. I hope you know that that's not how it's done. Do you know that? How is it done?
Networking.
Tell me more.
I mean, our world is about your resources and who you know, and building relationships, and that's just how our.
That's how it works.
I mean, that's how any business or engineering school would teach you.
Exactly how it works. And when you say you can't get there from here, you can't get to the suburbs from Detroit, I mean that not only in the physical transportation sense, I mean that in the network sense, in the finding out where employment is available and having somebody at that job who will serve as your reference and so forth. You can't get there from people.
Referrals are huge in
Huge,
any industry.
huge.
I mean, I know I'm from the Metro Detroit area, the suburbs of the city, and I know that the only, not in a racist way, the only black people that I've seen in our area are housekeepers or help after dinners and things like that. And that's just the way, I think he's absolutely right in terms of people's mentality of bringing people into our area. They don't want it. And it's how do you create relationships and referrals to build jobs or even going, to get higher educations if there's no network.
And how do you start on that? It's like saying about like your work in schools and so forth. Just start. If you're from southeastern Michigan, just start. If you go to a church or synagogue or suburban club or something like that, you present the issue and you say, we need to develop some relationships with people in the rest of the metropolitan area. Let's just talk. Let's have some people over for coffee and donuts or something, and just talk as a start. LA guy. Will.
So you made a lot of good points that I completely agree with you, and it seems like you made the point that it seems that people who do live in these suburbs don't want people to try coming out. But how would
we've done surveys. This is not just my supposition.
Yeah,
Detroit area studies have been doing surveys for 40 years. We got a lot of data.
It all makes sense to me. But it seems like a good idea if you had transportation for these people who try to get out. How are we
and also for folks in the suburbs to get in.
Right.
If you don't have a driver's license in a car, that is to say, if you're a young teenager, or an elderly person who can't drive, or a disabled person, and 30% of the population has physical disabilities, you're out of luck. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So how do you suggest, other than us going out and doing something and helping relate from Detroit people who aren't from Detroit, because that just seems like it's going to be a process that will take 10 years. What's a more immediate action?
I worked for a number of years as vice president of an organization in Metro Detroit called MOSES, Metropolitan Organizing Strategy, Enabling Strategy, and Metropolitan. It recognized that the way to benefit the region is to focus on metropolitan-wide strategies, and transportation was at the top of this. This was when John Engler was governor in the state of Michigan. Folks go back to Engler times. Conservative Republican, very smart politician, willing to cut deals if they were deals that that made sense in terms of his interest and his constituencies and so forth. Where they had the little people mover in Detroit, this little toy train that goes around for a while? Why do we have that there? You're shaking your head. I know you bowed. Do you know why we have that thing? It's because there was federal money. I think it was Dinger, but anyway, I think it was John Dinger, somebody who was high up in Congress and had his hands on money and so forth. There was federal transportation money for the asking for transportation projects, and so they came in from Washington and said, "Look, we've got this money. We can build a rapid transit system here in southeastern Michigan. We've got the money. All we need is the plan and the approval, from voters and whatever, and we can build it. The feds will give us the money." They couldn't get the plan together because even if it were free, the majority of the population did not want a regional transit system. Even if it was under your Christmas tree, they didn't want it. So Coleman Young finally said, "Look, if no one else will take the damn money, I'll take it," and built this thing. That's why it's this goofy people mover that's got like 6 people on it running around like something under the Christmas tree.